If you want to figure out the truth, bring up some money. How's everybody doing? My name is Anthony Brian Logan, and today we got to talk about this Ben & Jerry's interview on Axios HBO. Now, to call this interesting is kind of an understatement. This is very, very revealing. Now, before we get into the clip, which I do have, I got to back up a little bit here to explain to you what's going on, just so we're on the same page with each other and you have proper context. Now, Ben & Jerry's announced a boycott of certain areas in Israel because of the government's policy. And these areas are the West Bank and Gaza. They call these areas occupied Palestinian territories, meaning the Israelis occupy them, the Palestinians. So they're not going to sell ice cream right there, which is kind of confusing to me, because if you want to boycott the Israelis, why would you boycott the Palestinian areas? I don't understand how that makes any sense. Why not boycott the entire Israel aside from the so-called occupied areas? You see what I'm saying? But anyway, that's what they did, and that drew a lot of criticism. You guys are Jewish. What's going on? You hating your own people. You anti-Semitic, all this, that, and the third. But what I see more than anything is a big-time double standard and crazy hypocrisy. And I think that's the same thing that Axios, and to be specific, Alexi McHammond, who I did a video about before, that's a different story, I digress. I think that is what they see about these guys over at Unilever. I mean, Ben & Jerry's. Now, before we go any further, let's roll the clip. In this clip, you're going to hear the question about this whole hypocrisy thing. You're going to hear their answer. After we get done with that, I'll come back. I'll talk about what was said there. Then I'll give you my 2 cents, my deep, detailed analysis, and then I'll wrap it on up with a nice bow on top. So without further ado, let's go ahead and roll it.
If you disagree with the Israeli government policy, why not just stop sales completely?
Well, I disagree with the U.S. policy. We couldn't stop selling in the U.S. I think it's fine to be involved with a country, to be a citizen of a country, and to protest some of the country's actions. And that's essentially what we're doing in terms of Israel. We hugely support Israel's right to exist, but we are against a particular policy.
You guys are big proponents of voting rights. Why do you still sell ice cream in Georgia? Texas, abortion bans. Why are you still selling there?
I don't know. I mean, it's an interesting question. I don't know what that would accomplish. We're working on those issues of voting rights and I don't know. I think you ask a really good question, and I think I'd have to sit down and think about it for a bit.
All right, so you saw that, you heard that. Now, shout out to Alexi McHammond again from Axios for asking the hard question that shouldn't be that hard to ask. It's like, hey, wait a minute, you guys want to boycott the so-called occupied areas? Well, how about Georgia over the voting law? How about Texas over the abortion law? Why don't you boycott those areas? You're still going to sell there, right? You're not going to give up all them big round ladies and gentlemen down in Texas and Georgia and everywhere else you don't like. And right there, he got stuck. Like, I don't know. That's a good question. Yeah, it is a good question. I feel like you can boycott some of these small areas where you probably didn't have any big ice cream. Like, is there a big ice cream store on the West Bank where they just got like one of the biggest franchise stores in the world right there in the West Bank or in Gaza? Is that really what's going on? I don't think so. I think that your main market is right over here in the good old US of A. Okay, that's your main market. So you don't want to boycott these areas, but you want to boycott them over there. It's all political. It's all phony. And this kind of thing happens far too often. Far too often. There's always something that they'll do one thing, or they'll tell you one thing, and then they'll do something else privately, right? They talk about how racist these red states are, how hateful the people out there are, but then they'll pack up from California when the taxes get too high, and then move right to Tennessee, right to Georgia, Florida, Texas, etc. All these New York snowbirds going down to Florida, talking about, oh, I hate Trump, I hate Ron DeSantis, and move right in the same building with Trump and Ron DeSantis. They move right there next to him. You see, don't believe anything they tell you. Don't believe all these social justice warriors. Don't believe that. It's the equivalent, in my humble opinion, to having on a shirt talking about you hate capitalism while you on the iPhone, MacBook, all these things. Brought to you by capitalism. Just like that guy. What's his name? Hassan, the Twitch political streamer. You wearing a shirt talking about eat the rich. Meanwhile, you got $1 million mansion out there in Los Angeles. Okay, you make I don't know how many millions of dollars per year just from your subs on Twitch, not even counting your endorsement deals. You are a multi-millionaire making plenty of money off of capitalism. Then say you hate capitalism. AOC, another one, wearing that tax the rich dress at the Met Gala where you got to be a rich person to get in there. So all these things that they say are not true, which is why it confuses me when regular normies believe in the thing that these limousine liberals preach to them and talk about how you got to suffer and how you got to be in a bad place and give everything you have to other people and don't live high on the hog, don't have all these amenities, don't have all these good things. They'll say it to you, but that's what they want you to do. But they live however they want. Al Gore, another one, talking about the carbon footprint. Al Gore and Greta Thunberg, all these climate activists, ridiculous nut jobs, they'll say all these things. Don't get on the plane. Don't drive a big car because you got to reduce your carbon footprint. Meanwhile, Al Gore's mansion out wherever he lives has a crazy carbon footprint. How many AC units does he have? How many gas furnaces does he have in his house? Water pumping system, septic tanks, all kind of stuff to maintain that property. I mean, how many gallons of gas are burnt up just by the landscaping crew trimming the hedges and cutting the grass and whatnot on his property? How many pounds of pesticide are used to maintain the insect control and whatnot and rodent control around in his home? I mean, these things that they say are simply not true. And I wish that a lot of my liberal friends would just understand that. I wish they would understand. Like, I don't like hearing a lot of this stuff from the liberal machines talking about how you got to live and how you got to be. I don't like it at all because I know that it's not real. I know that it's not true. And right here from Ben and Jerry's, we see how it's not true. They couldn't even answer the question. You know, my thing, if you're going to be a liar for Unilever, basically, because that's not really, Ben and Jerry's is owned by Unilever, just like all the other ice cream brands. I think they got sold many years ago. So basically, you're a lobbyist for Unilever. If you're going to do something like that, at least have your ideas together. Don't go out there and lay a goose egg with a easy, underhand softball question. Hey, you guys are boycotting West Bank, Gaza. Why don't you boycott Dallas, Texas? Why don't you boycott Atlanta, Georgia? Oh, I don't know. That's a good question. Why? Come on. It's so dumb. It's ridiculous. And what he said about, being able to love a country or, it's not really a bit. What he said about having an issue with a particular policy, but still supporting the place. I agree with that. Which is why he shouldn't be boycotting West Bank and Gaza and just talk about your policy problem with Israel. I feel like that was a PR stunt because a lot of these leftists all of a sudden don't like Israel anymore. It's kind of weird how that works because, they say that's the right. You guys hate Jews. You guys are Nazis. Meanwhile, they call themselves democratic socialists, which is what the Nazis were. They are for the expansion of government. They also want to expand borders, quiet as kept. They don't want to have borders. They want to have everything be kind of under them. They'd rather have Mexico and Canada be part of, one thing. NAFTA, all this. They want that kind of stuff to go on. Okay, they want globalism. They want all of us to be one rather than having sovereign countries. And what did they do back in World War II Germany? They expanded Austria, Poland, etc. They wanted all of that area to be as one. Hey, everyone's going to love these gulags. The work camps, they're going to be great. We're going to get great innovation. Let's nationalize the car industry. That's what they do. And I think that history has been kind of screwed with so much, they don't understand what history is. They don't get that what they're doing has already been done before. So yeah, shout out to Unilever, Ben & Jerry's, for just exposing the elephant in the room. I think a lot of you guys that may watch me or channels like this already knew that, but it's great to see them on videotape admitting it. That was only one clip from that full segment. If you want to see the full segment, I'll link to that in the description box, but I think I'll leave that right there for now. And what say you? How do you feel about that segment? Do you think that these guys from Ben & Jerry's are being big time stone cold, stomp down hypocrites? How do you feel about their inability to articulate why they want to boycott Gaza Strip and West Bank because of the so-called Israeli occupation, but they don't want to boycott Georgia over the voting thing, Texas over the abortion? They'll boycott certain places because maybe it looks good on the PR level. Whatever your thoughts on that are, let me know in the comments below. You guys know where I'm at with it. I think a lot of these limousine liberals are stone cold, stomp down hypocrites. They do things for attention, not because they actually believe in it. All right. It's all about a silly PR stunt, but these stunts only work with those that don't understand what's going on. They only work on the ignorant. And you guys are not ignorant. You're very intelligent. And for those of you who didn't know what's going on, now you know. Now you are not ignorant and they can't play you anymore. But whatever your thoughts are, please let me know in the comments below. And that's all I got to say for this video. If you like what you heard, please comment, rate, share, and subscribe. Peace.